Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video we've got another game recap video talking about the Frozen Frenzy that happened on Tuesday, as well as the one lone game that was happening on Wednesday. And we'll go to all that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the N10 Hockey Channel. Before I start this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. We are so close to 200 subscribers. Thank you guys for all your support. I'll never be able to do this without you, so continue to subscribe. As usual, I'm going to start my game review video. As we talked about on Tuesday, I'm separating my game review videos from my news videos. So today I'm going to discuss here in this video just my game review videos. We had a 16 game slate on Tuesday. All 32 teams wound up playing on Tuesday. So it was really good to see that. We had staggered start times, so it was about 15 minutes between each and every game. We had another game each and every 50 minutes. It was really good, really fun to see. I know a lot of fans liked the staggered time thing. I know last year when the NBA was going on, a lot of people were angry that the NHL continued to play games like 3 at 4 o'clock and 2 at 7 o'clock when they could have had like a lot of different staggered times and start them like 15 minutes apart. So I know a lot of fans were probably happy with that. I'm sure a lot of people were happy with that, seeing that try out. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people are happy with that, but it was quite great to see every single team playing the NHL back on Tuesday. So to start things off on Tuesday with the Frozen Frenzy, we start with Toronto and Washington. It was a really good game. Toronto will go up 4-0 before Washington would add one goal, and the game would finish 4-1 Toronto. The Leafs are improved to a record of 4-2-0, dropping the Washington Capitals to a 1-3-1 record. So Caps continue to struggle. They did not look overly good. Ovechkin had a ton of shots. Looked like he was really trying to get one. He even had a penalty shot attempt that Joseph Woll blocked. But he was the lone goal scorer for the Capitals. So good to see it while Ovechkin finally got on the score sheet. So good to see that Ovechkin is definitely playing extremely well right now. I think he's playing a lot better. He looks like his old self a little bit more. Not overly great, but at least he's getting a lot of shots on goal. He's scored a goal, so it's good to see him get off the schneid to start the season. But the Leafs do win 4-1. Woll had a fantastic game in net. Goal scorers were Matthews and Morgan Riley, who both had a goal and assist, while John Tavares and William Nylander scored the other two goals. The Maple Leafs really gave it to the Capitals, and the Leafs looked really good. So the Leafs win 4-1, huge win for them. Woll looks good again. Matthews is back on the score sheet. Ovechkin's finally on the score sheet for the first time this year. So some really good things there from the Leafs and Capitals. Two really good rivals play each other as the Sabres and Sens, two teams looking to get back into the playoffs this year, play each other. Sabres at one point were up 5-1 on the Senators and looked like they were going to run away with it, but the Sens would score 3 late third period goals to cut the deficit to 5-4. This was a lot closer of a game than the Sabres needed to make it. But at the end of the day, the Sabres would end up winning 6-4 with empty net goals. So a huge win there for the Sabres. It was a must-win game. They're now only one game back of 500, as they're now 3-4-0. The Sens have been dropped to 500 at 3-3-0. So still really close between those two teams, but it was a really must-win game for the Sabres, and they finally exploded offensively. Thompson had 3 points with 2 goals and an assist. Skinner had a couple of goals in this game. Tuck had a goal and assist in this game. Middleton had a 2-assist night for the Sabres in this game, and Zemgus Jurgensen was the other goal scorer for the Sabres. Meanwhile, Tarasenko continued his hot start with Ottawa, having a goal and an assist. Chikrin and Norris were the other two goal scorers for the Senators, who do drop this game. So Ottawa and Buffalo continue to learn how to play good defensively, especially Buffalo when you have a big lead like that. Almost blowing it's not really great, but they do come away with the win. It's a huge win for them. It's a must-win game that they needed to have. Ottawa makes it close and interesting in the end, but it does wind up being Buffalo win. So huge win there for the Sabres, and it was really a huge must-win game to avoid going 3 games below 500. Then we had the Tampa Bay Lightning play the Carolina Hurricanes. Really good game there, but the Carolina Hurricanes have had troubles defending this entire season, and now they're having trouble scoring. The Bolts wind up shutting out Carolina Hurricanes. Jonas Johansson gets his second career shutout, making 32 saves, stopping all 32 shots in the shutout victory. Meanwhile, Brayden Point had a goal and an assist. While both Berbule and Paul scored the 2 other goals for Tampa, the Canes could not beat Jonas Johansson, so really bad offensive game from them. I do think there's definitely some room for improvement if I'm the Carolina Hurricanes, but definitely it does not look overly good right now. They continue to slip a little bit. Bolts are now game over 500, 3-2-2. The Canes have dropped to 3-4-0, so not overly great start for the Canes, but something they can easily come back from. They need to tighten up their defensive game and find a way to put pucks in the net. Bolts look all right. I am a little bit more confident in them now than was earlier in the year. Johansson looks all right. Still not overly convinced that they are a perfect team, but I do think Johansson's doing all right. So Bolts are able to withstand the Canes and shut them out 3-0 with a huge win. The New Jersey Devils were able to beat the Montreal Canadiens 5-2. Really close game. The Devils were able to score 4 straight after Montreal opened the scoring. A goal from Holtz, a goal from Hughes, 2 from Toffoli. The Canadiens would later get it to a 2-score game thanks to a Mike Matheson goal to cut the lead to 4-2. But Toffoli, this goal here, would put it away. He would get the empty net goal and his hat trick. Tyler Toffoli gets the hat trick against his former team is Montreal, and the Montreal Canadiens wind up dropping to New Jersey Devils 5-2. So it was a really big game for both of those teams. Like I said, Toffoli had a hat trick. He was very good in that game. Jack Hughes had a 4-assist night. His hot start continues. At that point in time, he improved to 14 points in 5 games, which was absolutely phenomenal. You also had Hischier score and Holtz score on top of that as well. So Toffoli and Hughes and Bratt continue to tear up the New Jersey Devils, while Hischier and Holtz continue to provide some good depth with the other goalers who scored. Well, the Canadiens got goals from 2 defensemen, Baron and Matheson. Canadiens dropped to a record of 3-2-1, still a really solid record, while the Devils improved to 3-1-1. So really solid game there. Devils did well, Canadiens did well, but all in all, I think this was a really big win for the Devils. A really must-win game, in my opinion, over the Canadiens. Then we had the Dallas Stars beat the Pittsburgh Penguins after scoring 4 straight goals after being down 1-0 to beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 4-1 in this game. Huge win for the Stars, in my opinion. They continue their season-opening point streak. Pens continue to slip a little bit, don't look overly well right now. Hopefully they can find their stride, but I know I picked them as a playoff team, but they don't look overly well as a playoff team right now. The Stars had Robertson and Harley have a goal and an assist in this game. Meanwhile, Johnston and Nadonov were the other 2 goal scorers. The only goal scorer for the Pittsburgh Penguins was Brian Rust to open the scoring in this game. The Penguins dropped to 2-4-0, while the Stars improved to 4-0-1, the only loss being to the undefeated Golden Knights. So yeah, I don't expect the Stars to continue to slow down. They look fantastic. I'm not surprised they won this game. They looked really good. The goaltending still looks good. Defense looks good. They're still getting contributions from all over the lineup. Pittsburgh still doesn't look overly great, so hopefully they can find their stride and do a little bit better, but they have not looked overly great this year. Then you had the Florida Panthers take on the San Jose Sharks. The Panthers will go down 1-0 to the San Jose Sharks, but would score 3 straight goals to beat them 3-1 and keep the Sharks winless. Panthers improved to 3-3-0, back up to 500. Meanwhile, the Sharks are now down to 0-5-1, and the only winless team in the NHL. The Sharks were able to get their lone goal scorer was Fabian Zetterlund. That was a good goal for Zetterlund, good confidence booster. Tkachuk had 2 assists night for the Panthers. Meanwhile, Verhaeghe, this goal here from Sam Reinhart was shown to be a game winner, which made the game 2-1 Panthers. And Kevin Stenlund were the 3 goal scorers for the Florida Panthers in the win. So solid game from Florida. They continue to do really well. Back up to 500, which is really good for them. I expect them to definitely do right around 500 until their defensemen are able to get back. So not overly surprised they've had a decent start to the year. Sharks continue to be winless, only winless team right now. So really bad for them. But they continue their season-opening losing streak to begin the season. The Avalanche are able to remain undefeated. This was a really close game. This was the game that, at some points, it looked like the Avs might lose their first game of the season, but Colorado wins over the New York Islanders 7-4. And improves the record to 6-0-0. The Avalanche were able to get a 4-point night from Mikko Rantanen, a 3-point night from Cale Makar. Rantanen had a goal, 3 assists, Makar had a goal, 2 assists. Ryan Johansson scored twice. Valeri Nichushkin had 2 assists night. And then Ross Colton, first with member of the Avalanche, Nathan McKinnon, and Bowen Byram also scored for the Colorado Avalanche. So the Avalanche had a fantastic game great offensive performance. The Islanders were able to get a goal and an assist from Kyle Clutterbuck. Dobson and Pajot both had 2 assists, while Kyle Palmieri, Simone Holmstrom, and Anders Lee were the other goal scorers for the Islanders. It was a really close game. It was 4-4 early in the third period, but the Avalanche would pull away and win 7-4. So really close game, but the Avalanche continued their dominance to start the year. Avs, like I said, 6-0-0, one of 3 undefeated teams right now. Meanwhile, the Islanders dropped down to 2-2-1 and have now lost back-to-back games in regulation and are on a 3-game losing streak. Then you had the Seattle Kraken play the Detroit Red Wings. The Kraken looked really good early on. I think they were up 1-0. They scored the first goal. They were also up 3-1, I think, after the second period. But then 3 straight goals, including a couple of power play goals from Detroit, would make it a 4-3 Red Wings lead. The Kraken would have to then tie it up late in the third period to put it into overtime at 4-4. And then this goal here in overtime from Jordan Eberle would give the Seattle Kraken a much-needed, must-win game here. 5-4 win over the Detroit Red Wings. So a huge win there for the Kraken to improve their record. They needed that win. Schwartz had a 2-goal game for the Seattle Kraken. Eberle and McCann had a goal and assist for the Kraken. Dunn and Beniers both had 2 assists for the Kraken, while Cartier was the other goal scorer for Seattle. Meanwhile, Larkin and Gostisbehere both had 3-point nights, both having a goal and 2 assists for the Red Wings. Moritz Seider had 2 assists tonight, while Joe Veleno and Alex DeBrincat had the other 2 goals for Detroit. So DeBrincat, Larkin continue to do overly well. Veleno continues to score in this, I think, 3rd straight game. So Wings had a pretty good game. Their offense continues to do well, but their defense still has a little bit of problems. So definitely going to be interested to see how they work on that. Seattle has a huge 5-4 OT victory for them to improve to 2-4-1. I know they started 0-2-1, and it's extremely hard, as we've talked about in the past, to overcome a season opening losing streak of 3 games or more, and we talked about how it's been near impossible to make the playoffs over the past couple of years. Not impossible, but very close to impossible. But Seattle's now 2-4-1 with the teams in that division, like a Calgary, like an Edmonton, even like an LA to some extent, who have not done overly well to begin the start of the season. I think Seattle's done all right to weather the storm, and if they can start winning a couple more games in the next little while and getting up there, putting up some more goals, winning a couple more games, I think Seattle could be fine. So it was a huge win, almost blew it, giving up 3 straight goals to go down 4-3, but they do win in overtime. It's a huge win for the Kraken. Then you had the Anaheim Ducks come back with a goal late in the third period to tie up the game, and then an OT winner to beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 3-2 in overtime and improve their record to 2-4-0. So still under 500, but they get another win. They're improved to 2-4-0. That's a huge win for them. Frank Vatrano, Brett Liason, and Ryan Strome were the 3 goal scorers for the Anaheim Ducks. Vatrano getting the OT winner for the Ducks and a huge win there. Adam Fantilli had a goal and an assist for the Jackets. Now that he scored his first goal, he looks fantastic, getting on the score sheet with 2 points in this game. I think this is his first multi-point game. Also, Emil Bemstrom had a goal for the Jackets, but it was not enough to get the Jackets the win. So Jackets fall in the Metro Division to 3-2-1. This is still a solid record for a Jackets team who I think a lot of people are thinking is going to take a little bit of a step forward, but not too much. So definitely not overly great. Couldn't hold on to the lead, but the Jackets who got a point improved to 3-2-1, while the Ducks with the win improved to 2-4-0. So a really good win there for Anaheim. Then you had the Boston Bruins shut out the Chicago Blackhawks 3-0 to improve to 6-0-0, and they remain undefeated. Not overly surprised there. The Bruins will get goals from Pavel Zacha, Trent Frederick, and another goal this time from Matthew Poitras. Huge goals there for the Bruins to get the 3-0 win. Swayman stopped all 23 shots he faced in the shutout victory, so Swayman had a fantastic game. The offense was there when it needed to be. Hawks could not get any goals, so the Hawks drop to 2-5-0 on the season. The Bruins improved to 6-0-0. So the Bruins are doing really good. The one thing I will say about the Bruins is that a lot of people do think they look extremely good, and I do think that's another case. You also have to look at their schedules. The Avalanche, who are undefeated right now, have beaten a couple of cup contenders or even playoff teams who look really well. The Knights have beat a couple of cup contenders, including Dallas in a shootout, or a couple of playoff teams who have done and looked really well. The Bruins have beaten the Hawks twice, the Ducks, and the Sharks. Those teams, in my opinion, are the 3 worst teams in the West. So I'm not overly surprised that they got 4 wins there. It's a little bit surprising they beat Nashville and LA. Yes, Nashville, I think, is a team who's competing for playoffs. LA is a team who I think could definitely easily be in the playoffs as well. Maybe not a cup contender, but should be in the playoffs. But Nashville, in the first 2 games, couldn't score. So for Boston Bruins' good, solid defense, that was a really easy win for them. The Kings, I am a little bit surprised they did beat them. But definitely, I think Have they had a really easy schedule to start the year? Yes. Now, they also have the Ducks, I think, later on today. So I would expect them to win their 2 to improve to 7-0. The next stretch of games is going to be the really interesting thing for the Boston Bruins, because after they play Anaheim today, they play Detroit, Florida, Toronto, and then Detroit again. If they are able to come away with that 11-0, I would say that the Bruins are still doing really, really good this year. But if they go out and lose like 2 or 3 of those games to Detroit, Florida, Toronto, and Detroit, I would definitely expect that the reason they started out so well this year was basically because they were playing all of the lower teams in the standings. I'm still not overly confident in Boston. I know they've looked really good this year. I know they're 6-0, but I still have my doubts about Boston. And I still think Boston is just a really, really good team because they've been playing some of the worst teams in the NHL. So that's my take on Boston, but I'd definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts. For the Jets, they were able to come away with a huge 4-2 victory over the St. Louis Blues, negating a couple of comeback attempts by St. Louis Blues. Pionka had 2 assists tonight, while Kyle Connor, Mason Appleton, David Gustafson, and Morgan Barron all scored for the Winnipeg Jets for the 4-goal game. Meanwhile, Pavel Buchnevich had a goal and an assist for the St. Louis Blues. Robert Thomas had the other goal for St. Louis in the loss. Jets with the win improved to 3-3-0, so good to see them backed up to 500. Blues with the loss dropped to 2-2-1, so after starting out 1-0-1, they've not done overly well. They're 1-2-0 in their last 3 games, so Blues need to try and figure out a way to continue to play like they were in the first few games, being able to keep the puck out of their net really, really well. But for the time being, Jets do really good, and are able to get the win over the St. Louis Blues. Then you have the Minnesota Wild scored 3 straight after being down 3-2 to take a 5-3 lead on the Edmonton Oilers. Late in the third, the Edmonton would cut the lead to 5-4. But the Wild scored 2 straight, including this goal here, the 6th of the game for the Wild, and the 3rd of the game for Ryan Hartman. Hartman gets a hat trick in this game. It was basically a nail in the coffin for the Wild. They would get one more at the end of the game. The Wild would come back to beat the Edmonton Oilers 7-4. And once again, the Oilers cannot defend to save their lives. In this game, Ryan Hartman had a 5-point night, including a hat trick and 2 assists. Jacob Middleton and Kirill Kaprizov both had 3 assist nights for the Wild. Matt Zuccarello, Joel Ekshnak both had a goal and an assist, while Marco Rossi and Marcus Foligno both had a goal for the Wild in the win. The Oilers had a 3-point night, goal, 2 assists from Evan Bouchard. Warren Foegele scored twice for the Edmonton Oilers. Evander Kane had a goal and an assist for the Oilers. And Drysdale tallied 2 assists for the Oilers in the loss. Edmonton drops to 1-4-1, and Minnesota improves to a solid 3-2-1 record. So for the Wild, I'm not overly surprised. They have a very fantastic offense. They continue to do really well this year. They're back to above 500, so good to see the Wild are doing overly well. Edmonton can't defend. I can't say this again and again. Edmonton has problems defending, and they cannot seem to keep the puck out of their net. Edmonton's a really good team. I expect them to bounce back from this. I still expect them to be a playoff team, even after a slower start. But we've talked about this before. Over the past 5 full seasons, so the last 2 years, plus the 3 years before COVID, the last 5 full 82-game seasons, teams who start with a below 500 record, which is under 10 points, was 43 times that happened over that time frame. And of those 43 teams, only 8 were able to make the playoffs. And if you go a point lower, of the 28 teams over those 5 years who have finished with 8 points or lower in that time frame, only 1 team was able to make it to the playoffs. So if you have a really bad start, it is extremely difficult to overcome. So I still think Edmonton can make it. I still think Edmonton can bounce back. But if they don't start winning games soon, this season might be lost for the Edmonton Oilers. So they got to start winning games. They got to learn how to play better defense, and they can't blow leads that they have in the third period. So loss for Edmonton. They dropped to 1-4-1. While it's a solid win for the Minnesota Wild, improving to 3-2-1. The Vancouver Canucks were able to beat the Nashville Predators 3-2. Solid win there. They were able to get up to 3-1. Held on for the 3-2 win. Ilya Mikheyev scores first of the season. You also have Phil DiGiuseppe and Nils Höglander score for the Canucks in the win. Kiefer Sherwood and Colin Decision score for the Preds in the loss. Still a solid game for the Preds, but they dropped down 3-4-0. Canucks with a huge win, improved to 4-2-0. So Canucks continue to do really well in a Pacific Division that's not doing overly well right now. Preds, even though they lost, they had a fantastic game. Not the best of games from the Preds that we've seen in the past couple of games, but they were definitely in it for a while. So good to see the Preds were able to remain and keep it competitive. The Rangers were able to beat the Calgary Flames 3-1 and to improve to a 4-2-0 record. Eric Gustafson had a goal goal and an assist. Filipino had a couple of assists in that game, while Chris Kreider and Alexis Lafreniere both also scored for the Rangers. Coleman was the lone scorer for Calgary as they dropped to 2-4-1. Still not an ideal start for the Flames. They definitely need to start winning just like their Alberta rivals in Edmonton if they want to continue to make the charge for the playoffs later on. So they need to start getting some wins. The LA Kings were able to beat the Arizona Coyotes 6-3. A huge win there to improve to 3-2-1. Blake Lizotte, Kevin Fiala, Andrei Kopitar, and Adrian Kempe all had a goal and an assist. Trevor Moore, Trevor Lewis both also scored for the Kings in the win. In the loss, Clayton Keller, Nick Bukestad, and Jack McBain all scored for the Arizona Coyotes as they fall and they drop to a 3-3-0 record while the Kings improved to 3-2-1. So definitely it was a good solid game. Both teams did really well, but the Arizona Coyotes do come out as the losers in this game. So Coyotes did all right and the Kings continue to do pretty well in a pretty not overly good division in the Pacific. So a really good win there for the Kings. They were able to put up the goal scoring. Like I said, they have a really good offense. They're going to outscore a lot of teams this year. The defense is their problem. They did all right this game, but in some other games, their defense may not be able to carry them. The Golden Knights remained undefeated. The Knights improved to 7-0-0 with a huge 3-2 victory, come-from-behind victory over the Philadelphia Flyers. Went up 1-0 early. They were down 2-1. Then they tied it with around 7 minutes left, I think, in the third. And then this goal here, with only 30 seconds left in the regulation, from Shea Theodore would give the Knights the 3-2 victory over the Philadelphia Flyers. Jack Eichel had a couple of assists in this game, while Paul Cotter, Ivan Barbashev, and Shea Theodore scored for the Golden Knights in the win. Atkinson and Cates were the two scorers for the Philadelphia Flyers in the loss. Flyers dropped down to 3-2-1. Knights are up to 7-0-0. Just a little bit of a reminder here. The Knights are 7-0-0 to start the year. The Avs and Bruins are 6-0-0. The longest winning streak to open a season in NHL history is 10 games. The Toronto Maple Leafs, I'm correct, I think it was the 93-94 season, did it. Started the season with 10 straight games. On top of that, the Buffalo Sabres in the 06-07 season began the season with a 10-game winning streak. So it's been done before. I wonder if any of these three teams are able to hit that 10-game streaks to start the year. It would be really interesting to see. But the Knights, the Avs, and the Bruins all look really, really good right now. And I'd be extremely, extremely scared to face them at this point in time. But the Knights improved to 7-0-0, looked really good. Flyers gave them all they could handle, but they still wound up losing. It's still a really good game from Philly, but I think they need to lose a little bit more if they're going to try and actually tank this year and get a bottom 5 pick. And then we had one game yesterday. Those were all the 16 games from Tuesday. We had one game yesterday between the Washington Capitals and New Jersey Devils. Caps were able to beat the Devils 6-4 in a really good back-and-forth game. Caps were up 3-0 at one point. Devils came back to take a 4-3 lead, and then 3 straight goals from the Caps gave them a 6-4 win. So a huge win there for the Capitals to improve to 2-3-1. Strome had a 2-goal game. Ovechkin and Mantha had a goal and an assist. Kuznetsov had 2 assists game. Milano and McMichael also scored for the Capitals. Meanwhile, Tyler Toffoli had a 3-point game again. 2 goals and an assist. Jack Hughes had a 3 assist game. That kid is now up to 17 points in 6 games. He looks fantastic. And I think he could definitely do really well. He's on pace for like 230 points. He's not going to keep up that pace, but I mean, come on, that's absolutely ridiculous. You also had Meyer have a goal and an assist, and then Heischer was the other goal scorer for New Jersey, who lose and dropped to 3-2-1. So Devils continue to do really well, but it was a really high scoring affair. They wind up losing. Caps, much needed win, huge win there. Ovechkin gets another goal, so really good stuff there from the Capitals, but they still don't have an overly great record. So that's all of the game recaps from over the past couple of days. Today we have games between the Ducks and the Bruins, the Kraken and the Canes, Jets and the Red Wings, the Canadiens and the Blue Jackets, the Avalanche and the Penguins, the Lightning and the Sharks, the Flyers and the Wild, the Sens and the Islanders, the Leafs and the Stars, the Oilers and the Rangers, and then the Flames and the Blues. So we have 11 games today of NHL action, and then tomorrow we'll have 6 games. The Knights take on the Hawks, the Canes take on the Sharks, the Devils take on the Sabres, the Canucks take on the Blues, Kings take on the Coyotes, and Wild take on the Capitals. I'll talk about all of those game reviews on our next video on Saturday. But that's all I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video, and if you're like to subscribe down below. We are so close to 200 subscribers. Thank you guys for all your support. I will never be able to do this without all of you guys. So thanks for all of your support. But don't forget to continue to subscribe. I also do a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So definitely check that out. I'll leave links down in the description below. And I can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.